Okay guys, hey, out here on our Pike County tract, doing a little tree transplanting again today. And I just wanted to show you a little before and after, I guess. I'm actually in a place, you can see right here, where I have tree transplanted, I don't know, 10 years ago. And we got about a 50% success rate. You see that tree tube there? That actually was off a tree that didn't make it. But come over here and let's look at this one. And I'm gonna say, this guy, sit up there, I'm gonna say he's gonna make it. And we're right on, you can see the little creek bank there. We're right on our little creek bed. And I wanted to show you one other one. Let's see. Excuse the briars. That's one of the things I did. I pulled this greenbrier down off the crown of this tree. I don't know if you can see it right here. This guy, see him up there? And I'm gonna say he's gonna make it. See how straight the trunk is there. Like I said, I probably transplanted him 10 years ago or so. And 50% success rate. I don't know, 50% better than none. But the idea is that we would take it on around this bend in the creek. And we were putting in a fire lane and we got too close to the creek. So, while I'm showing you, excuse me, I'll show you this swamp chestnut that I got from the NRCS on Arbor Day. You see its leaves there. Let's see its leaves there. And so far he's made it. It's about hip high. Planted him a couple years ago. And then show you one more. There's the trail the deer got tromped down there. This is the only pine tree I've ever been able to successfully transplant. And look at it. That joker's huge. And I planted it when it was just a baby. It's pretty cool right here on the fire lane. See, my buddy Michael's out helping me today. I had to bring him to raise our median age, so if I get wore out, he'll get wore out quicker. We can both go home. I did want to show you kind of what you don't want to do when you're transplanting trees. I tried to dig this one up in the barn, and I don't know, I guess it got hung up on something, but that is not what you want. And the piles of dirt on these, that's what you're going for. You want to keep as much dirt as possible. But I already dug it up, so I'm gonna put it in the ground. Probably ain't gonna make it. But just out here, beautiful day. Just doing a little tree transplanting, setting some DPs, tree transplanting, setting DPs, oh, and pulling some cameras. So it's another great day on the farm here in Pike County. Okay guys, we're still on our Pike County tract. About to do a little TSI. I thought I'd show you some things in this plot we call out front. First of all, notice again our clovers. This is probably one of the better plots that the clovers did in all of them that I planted. But I thought this was interesting. You see that right there? Nebraska. I didn't plant Nebraskas at all. And I guess they came up on their own last year. Now last year I did let them go to seed. Now I don't see any evidence of browse on any of this, but it's in here, scattered out. As you walk around, you can see it. But as far as deer utilization, they wear it out pretty good. But it hung with them this year. But I thought that was neat. Nebraska's come up on their own. I'm sure the seed blend isn't gonna tell you that. There's a trough in the middle. I'm about to move that for turkey season. Move it over here to the tree line. But I did want to show you another example of TSI that we're doing today. Believe it or not, those two are examples of trees we want to keep and trees we want to cut down. This tree, believe it or not, is a sawtooth oak tree. And if you can believe this, I planted this thing. You can see some of the remnant leaves right there. I planted this thing many years ago. And this year, we had a banner year for mast. This year, believe it or not, as tall as that jugger is, first year it produced mast. I planted this one and this one. You can see that's another sawtooth at the same time. So, here's the TSI part. This is a tree we want to keep. That's a sawtooth. And today, I got my old chainsaw, and that's just an old sweet gum that I'm about to fell. Now, it's a little bit bigger than normal, but it's competing up at the crown. We want this crown outcompete this crown. We want this to produce mass, whereas this only produces those doggone sweet gum balls. So you can see up there, that one's doing pretty good. It is competing with this this water oak, and I'm probably gonna work on this limb while we're working, but we're gonna leave the water oak and probably while we got the chainsaw running, see that little bit of hedge we're gonna cut off out. Oh, there went the finger. There it is, from under those two oak trees. So just a little bit of TSI. Got a little less humid day, and old Michael, he's gonna supervise. All right, guys. Hey, here we are back in the office, kind of wrapping up video, and wanted to add a few devotional thoughts from our quick update there in Pike County. I tell you, I don't get over to Pike County as much as I would like to, but it certainly serves as a neat perspective when I get over there, because I've been doing a lot of habitat management work over there for a much longer time than I have on my Jasper County tract. So you get things like trees that have outgrown you know, 15, 20 feet up. So, but anyway, I got to thinking about this whole idea of transferring trees, and thinking about what kind of devotion I could give, kind of wrap our minds around the pinnacle of our creation as we wrap up. And a very familiar verse came to my mind, and you probably have heard about it, or heard it, excuse me. It's Romans 12:2. I tell you, I'm going to read Romans 12:1 and 2. The Apostle Paul, writing to the church at Rome, inspired by the Holy Spirit, writes, "Therefore I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove the will of God, what the will of God is, and that which is good and acceptable and perfect." And there's a whole lot there. And this video could go quite the length here if we tried to tackle all of it. But I just want to give a devotion and contrast, basically, of the difference between being transferred and transformed. Now, isn't that an interesting thought? And a case in point, if you watch the videos, I picked up this tree, and chances are, honestly, it's not going to make it. It'll be interesting to watch over the years, but I'm transferring that tree. And one of the reasons why I picked that one individual tree is because it was growing under my barn there in Pike County. Of course, tin roof, and there's a hole in it, and on the edge of the tin roof, there's a beautiful big, and I've watched it grow through the years. It's tiny, and now it's a very mature tree, and of course it throws water oak acorns. Well, obviously, one of those water oak acorns ran down that tin roof, dropped in the hole, and found root there in the ground. It began to grow. Of course, always busy on the farm, always lots to do. So I just pass it, and I just pass it, and I just pass it, and that little tree began to grow, and before too long, it was kind of like that perfect transfer height. So as I was going to the farm to transfer trees, I thought, I'm gonna transfer that one for sure, because if I don't, it's not gonna grow anything in this section of the barn, or if it does, I'm gonna have to cut it down. So that tree was destined not to grow in the location that it was. Now here's the thing. What we often think Christ does in our life is takes us from a bad spot, aka under a tin roof in a barn, and puts us in a good spot, aka beside a creek, getting full sun in a perfect environment, But I think if that's all Christ does in our life, takes us from a bad spot and puts us in a good spot, we're missing it. We're missing all that Christ can do. Because here's the thought that Paul is writing to the church at Rome, is that we're supposed to be transformed, not just transferred. See, Paul in his writing talks about the person who we were before we met Christ as the old man. The old man in me is gone. All those things that we think about and know about before Christ. But he also starkly contrasts our old man of the flesh with the new man. And that's not a transfer, as in a different location. I have to choose my words wisely here. But that's a transformation. Be renewed in your mind. Transformed. Okay? And I got to thinking about that, and I said, as clearly as I can express that idea from Paul's writing to the church at Rome, I think that idea can even be more clearly expressed in Jesus's conversation with Nicodemus. And you may or may not know that you know part of that conversation, because you may or may not know that John 3:16 is a part of that conversation, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. And like, if you know any verse of the Bible, you know that one. Well, that verse came in a conversation that Jesus was having with Nicodemus. In that conversation, Jesus says to Nicodemus, and he blows his mind when he says this, he says, you must be born again. And that's beautiful, because again, we're not changing locations, we're being reborn. The Lord is creating us anew in salvation. The Apostle Paul writes, I'm crucified with Christ. The old man is gone. Behold, all things have become new. And that's so important as you think about what Christ wants to do or is able to do in your life. We're not just being transferred from a bad spot to a good spot. We're being renewed. We're being reborn. And so we're not going from the bars to church. We're not just being renovated from a not so good guy to a good guy. We're not just being rejuvenated from, who I used to be, and now I've pulled myself up by the bootstraps, and I kind of like the idea of Christ, and now look, I'm this. But no. Christ is in us, creating us anew. And here's the deal. If you've just been transferred from a bad spot to a good spot, you may miss it all. All right? That kind of person that Jesus talks about, when he says, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. Lord, didn't we do all these things? Lord, Lord. No, I never knew you." And it's so concerning for me as a pastor, people in our area where we grew up around church and we grew up and hearing all these things and knowing all these things, that we experienced some modicum of what Jesus can do in our life, and we were transferred from a rough spot, and then all of a sudden we're in a good spot, but we may or may not know anything about the transformation that only Christ can do in our life. And so as I'm encouraging you to work on the pinnacle of your creation, man, let me encourage you to know the saving power of Jesus Christ. He doesn't just want to rejuvenate you. He doesn't just want to kind of fix you up, but he wants you to be born again. Man, if I can help you with that, if I can lead you in that, if you have more questions about that, reach out to me. Any of my social media, those are questions I'd love to answer. And hey, if I can help you with your rejuvenation of your little piece of creation, that's what we want to do. However I can help you, let me know. God bless you guys.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us on another day of Cultivating Creation. If you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.